Hello my friends and welcome to Alien Protocols, the Advanced Protocols Data Project. Let's talk about vacuum energy, virtual particles, the zero-point energy field, anti-gravity, power, and propulsion. Because they're all related. And it's kind of difficult to understand what vacuum energy is, but let's dive in. Albert Einstein took some pollen and sprinkled it over water, and he discovered that these grains of pollen danced and agitated and moved around. Therefore, he knew there must have been smaller particles there, and he discovered atoms, essentially. And he discovered that these atoms were moving. Something was making them move. And what he discovered, and what we've discovered about the universe so far, is that the universe hates nothing. The universe really abhors nothing. You can take a square, like this red square here, and you can suck out all of the atoms in the air, all of the oxygen, all of the carbon dioxide, every single molecule out of it. And there will still be seething energy in the vacuum. The vacuum is full of energy. All throughout the vacuum, there are particles leaping, exploding out of the nothingness and creating a particle and an antiparticle. And then they come together and then self-annihilate again. It's almost as if they're borrowing energy from the future to be created only to self-annihilate. And this is happening all throughout the vacuum. And it creates a force. There was a guy named Casimir, a scientist, who discovered if you take two plates and put them really close together, there will still be this force on the outside pressing in and on the inside pressing out. And this was called the Casimir force, and was trying to use this to create energy. And the amazing thing is about this virtual field here, where these particles are coming in and out, there's not a single scientist in the world who can tell you where, when of these particles is going to appear at what place. What decides where a virtual particle appears and when? I mean, we can do statistics and have statistical ideas, but we have no specific idea. There's something doing it. There's some sort of field or some sort of interaction in the field where there's intersecting waves from another dimension, or some sort of energy exchange from another field or dimension is creating those virtual particles. Regardless, these virtual particles prove that there is a deeper reality, a dimension or a field underneath our reality, beyond our current understanding. And there's many different things that are associated, from the Casimir force to, all sorts of different things. The Higgs field. We have a certain understanding within our senses of reality. But reality, as we've learned, is much bigger. There are fields and forces and things just below the surface of our understanding. But we know if you decouple yourself from the vacuum field, you get anti-gravity and power. Once you lose that resistance of all of those virtual particles, you move a lot faster and you gain free power the faster you go. Now, we've recently learned about a bunch of new things. The Higgs field, and with the LIGO experiment, we've learned about gravity waves. So there's most likely plenty of ways to go anti-gravity. But if you just decouple yourself from the vacuum field and you apply dark energy to one side of your craft, you will move forward. You don't need to do the Alcubierre drive, where you have a tremendous amount of dark energy behind you and then in front of you a tremendous amount of matter, and then thereby kind of go from this dip wave to a dip. Instead, you could do something a lot simpler called constraint vectoring, which is applying dark energy on one side of your craft, which will essentially just squirt you forward, like squeezing a tube of toothpaste. And as long as you can move that electromagnetic or dark energy focal point across the surface of your craft, you can go the opposite direction. You're essentially creating that hill behind yourself, or spreading out space-time behind you, pushing you forward. And there's a lot of different ways to use cold fusion and warp drives, where, like the Dr. Jack Sarfati way, and creating these little miniature wormholes and pulling yourself forward with these little micro portals, essentially. There's also the classic anti-gravity coil, which definitely has proven to work. And there's the tic-tac, which uses micro lattice structures that are resonated at a certain terahertz, which allows you to decouple from local gravity. And of course, if you can integrate just a small amount of uranium into the surface of the craft, because the material is a topological insulator and reuses energy at such an incredibly high rate that it uses just a tiny itsy bitsy bit of energy to go anti-gravity. And with the catalyst liquid, and depending on your desires, the skin of the craft can do a tremendous amount of different things. And we know that if you have rotating electromagnetic fields, they do incredible things as well. So figuring out how the tic-tac works in a lot of these craft is not as difficult as we might think. What do you guys think? Do you think these craft are using any of these methods? Or do you think it's something else? Much love to you and yours.